Y'all got to smash that like button, man. We talking Detroit Lions training camp, man. And we're talking to running backs as well. One of the ones that I am intrigued by, because I feel like I know who David Montgomery is, though there are some really good reports about him. I feel like I know Jahmyr Gibbs is going to take that next step, and he has a lot of hype. But somebody that we've talked about since the draft process is Sione Vaki.
Yep.
You know, I am ecstatic about him. Broder, you were one of the first to kind of bring him to this platform as well. I'm ecstatic about him.
Oh yeah. No, he's somebody who, if we're talking about preseason superstars, which we don't really, I mean, what does that mean? I think people have varying definitions of it. But Sione Vaki, I think when you're looking at preseason type superstars, you look at somebody who belongs. You look at somebody who is as advertised. And Sione Vaki, he looked shifty out there. He looked fast. He looked like he could be someone that could even run between the tackles a little bit better than we think. He looked like somebody who, at his ceiling, and I'm not saying this is ever going to happen, could be one of the better pass-catching running backs in the NFL. You're basically seeing a little bit lesser of what he was at Utah, just a playmaker that when the ball is in his hands, you gasp and you think, man, maybe he can even take it to the house. Maybe he can turn a 2-yard gain into a 5 or 6 yard gain, or even more than that. So Sione Vaki, in terms of preseason standouts, he's got to be near the top.
Yeah, and as we start talking, as we start predicting the final 53-man roster, I imagine most of us, if not all of us, would almost guarantee that he's on it, which means that they're likely keeping 4 running backs.
Yeah.
Having him as a running back on the depth chart, but he's versatile, and that everything you just said, he's versatile. And the 33rd team put out a graphic yesterday that just showed how versatile he's been. Yes, in 2 preseason games, but there's a graphic of all-purpose yards. He's one of the top 10 rookies so far in preseason in terms of all-purpose yards from scrimmage. Here's an AI predicts the Lions running back room stats. There is another one if you have it. There's one other one if you got that up too. But he's been great. Sione Vaki is looking like a steal that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell went up and got. And yes, they were the only ones in the draft who went and drafted him primarily as a running back. I don't know why I was getting challenged on that on our show Monday, but he was drafted as a running back.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I'm excited about this room. We were talking about him yesterday, mostly Gibbs and Montgomery in that cat. Okay, are there 4 running backs ahead of the Bears? You know, where does Aaron Jones and Josh Jacobs fit? But those 2 are great. You start adding the versatility of Vaki on this, like how good can this running back room be? Is it the number 1 running back room in the NFL?
Yes.
Top to bottom, 1 through 4.
I like that. No hesitation.
For sure. Yes, 100%.
Not even a pump fake.
No. If we're thinking...
I agree.
Let's go.
If I'm just going to give a couple
Get me fired up some more.
I would be excited about if
Pop
I
your
were
shit.
fans of their respective teams, I would say that the Miami Dolphins have a potentially good one, although I think Mostert takes a step back, but A-Chain could be one of the top running backs in the NFL this year if he's healthy. And then you even look at a team like the Cleveland Browns potentially, who saw Jerome Ford step up, and if Nick Chubb can come back sometime this season, they could be a pretty lethal running back duo. But right now, it is the Lions. And it's the Lions even if you take Sione Vaki out of it. But if he is somebody who contributes to this team, if he's somebody that can even touch the ball 10 to 15 times this year and make something happen, that just elevates the ceiling to this running back room to a point to where it's one of the better running back rooms we've seen in the last decade.
Yeah,
if
it's going to be interesting to me as well. You bring this many running backs into the regular season, but you have a couple of them that you also identify as weapons in Jahmyr Gibbs and maybe Sione Vaki, the way that they utilize him as a pass catcher. So to me, I'm just wondering, like, what is Ben Johnson cooking up with this offense? Because I absolutely loved, and we want to see this translate to the regular season, but I love the way that Vaki was able to catch the ball and punch it for the first downs several times in a row and be reliable for the quarterback. You know, and when you're talking about being able to, I don't know if they're going to do this, but potentially run Jahmyr Gibbs out to the wide receiver slot with the Vaki still in the backfield, it just gives them a whole dearth of pass catchers and playmakers on the field, to the point that it makes me a little bit more comfortable. Yeah, I have questions about the wide receivers, the depth there, but it makes me more comfortable knowing that we got really some playmaker depth overall.
Yes, and you look at just look at those numbers. And I understand in preseason it's more about how you got them and how you looked than your actual numbers, but I see 5 yards a carry and 15 yards a catch. That's not exactly what he did in Utah, because what he did at Utah was like even far surpassed that. But in terms of translating to the NFL, as I said before, if Sione Vaki, at least in the Lions' immediate Super Bowl window, can be somebody who just makes big plays when he's called upon, even if it's not very often, that's all you really need, especially while David Montgomery is still here. And maybe in the future, it makes David Montgomery easier to part ways with.
Yeah, we look at how they've ramped up the rookies in the past, even Gibbs last year. Like, we're not going to – Ben Johnson isn't going to rush Vaki 12 times and throw him the ball, target him 7 times in week 1. Like, we're going to use him strategically for the first 7-8 weeks and just continue to ramp him up. This is his first time ever focusing on running back full time. Like, he was a safety at Utah before he started playing running back because of injury. So it's like Bobby Boucher getting the call off of being the water boy to going at linebacker. This is his first time really playing running back. How good can he be? And we look at those stats that AI predicted from the 33rd team. This is a pretty fearsome threesome. And we don't expect Craig Reynolds to produce much from a number standpoint. He's there as a reliable number 3, a really good pass. He's the best pass protector in this running back room. But these 3 are your playmakers. We got David Montgomery, Gibbs, and Vaki. You just see the balance of rushes, touches. Gibbs and Vaki can do so many things. So I think that how that pairs with David Montgomery, what Ben Johnson can do, Flannel, is going to be or has potential to be special.
This is AI. This isn't like a Lions fan for us.
You're right.
If these numbers actually oh my goodness, if these numbers actually come to fruition, if Jahmyr Gibbs has almost 1,600 total yards and 16 touchdowns, if David Montgomery gets 945 rushing yards and 12 touchdowns, if Sione Vaki gets 512 total yards, we're talking about one of the best running games we've ever seen as NFL fans. Yeah. And I don't think that, at least in our time watching it, I don't think that's a
over
hot take.
500 touches for the running back room. And you know what? I'd be here for it.
I don't think that's a hot take at all. And to me, that's exactly about the proportion at what I would like to see. I would like Jahmyr Gibbs to get the lion's share of the touches. I would prefer David Montgomery to be more of the change of pace, because I think Jahmyr Gibbs is more talented than David Montgomery and has a much higher ceiling even this year. But if 73 touches for 512 total yards, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
If he gets 73 touches, I think that total yards might even be closer to 600.
Yeah.
But if it's just that, we're talking about 33 touchdowns between the 3. Mm-hmm. And that's AI. This isn't Lion Slappy doing this. This is AI. No bias. I love to see it.
Hey, shout out to Mr. Detroit City in the chat as well. He said, Sam contributes 100 times more to WSN than what Houston contributes to the Lions.
I wouldn't say that. I don't think I flashed as high as James Houston has, but I think I've had more good days than James Houston has.